You're here to make money from crypto. We're here to tell you how you do it. So, welcome, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever it is, wherever you are. And welcome to the fourth AMA. Now, the AMAs are kind of Ask Me Anything sessions focused on Aaron Tilton, who you see with me here, the co founder and CEO of Smartfi, where he answers questions from the audience. Man, he looks so different then.
That's so young, man. I look like a little kid now. Yeah.
It took me quite by surprise. Who is that? Anyway, so Aaron's going to answer some questions submitted by our community about things. But the biggest question that we get asked just generally is, quite simply, how do you make money and how do you do it in a safer way, a smarter, safer way? And so that's what we're going to devote this AMA to. This Ask Me Anything to. And we're going to, answer that most asked question. Right, as usual, someone in the community will win $50 of the SMTF token every week. All you have to do is be verified on the Smartfi portal, leave the most thought provoking question about the episode that helps others learn, and make sure you're subscribed. Then you got a chance of winning $50 in SMTF. Okay, we're going to talk about things here that involve kind of like, the future and whatever. So I want to make something clear before we start. We're going to be talking about generalized planning for success, not specific financial plans or tax advice. We're not tax people or financial planners. We're not qualified or licensed for that. We're just trying to give you an idea as of what to do and how to do it to give you the best chance of being successful. And we're basing that on what other people have done. So, Aaron, where do people need to start?
Well, I think the first thing is, we've discussed this multiple times. You need to have tools, right? And learn to use those tools. Part of that first step, when you have learn, plan, do, part of learning is learning to have good tools. And today we're going to talk about a good tool that we call Smart Strategies tool. And that tool allows you to answer these 6 to 8 critical questions that allow you to actually execute on the learn, plan, do, right? And over time, we realized that a lot of successful people in cryptocurrencies did these same things. So we're emulating that. A lot of people on the Smartfi portal made money with what we do, utilizing loans, utilizing these other tools, dollar cost averaging, all of these things. So we're trying to systematize that. And so this first step would be answer these 6 questions, which is part of learn, also part of plan, and then do.
Yeah. So, Paul, let's just look at what those questions are. We're kind of, I think we need to get straight to the meat of this. So I think if we can get right to those questions, you can call up. Is it slide A1? I think you had ready, Paul, for people to look at, and we can run through what those questions are and how and what it's going to look like if you use this tool at Smartfi. It's going to help you devise a strategy that works for you. Can you get that slide A1 up there? There we go. All right. So no, that's not the slide I wanted. Actually, it's the one that's actually the the questions themselves. So maybe I gave you the wrong. There we go. We're here.
There we go.
Okay. So this is what you do. So you start off just putting your email. Simple enough, right? Everybody has one these days, at least. So let's just make one up. Okay. First question. We'll kind of alternate, Aaron, so we don't bore people to
Yeah.
death. Right? First question is the most basic thing we want to know about you. That's going to kind of guide where we go from here. Do you own crypto? You answer yes or no. Let's say no, right? And then, Aaron, what's the second question?
So, basically, the most common theme around, again, successful people in crypto, they clearly defined what they wanted. They spent time understanding that, learning what they were going to do with it. I think a lot of people have done that in their head, right? They spent time doing that, kind of go through this process. But you have to define what you want. And it might be for multiple things. Money's used for all kinds of stuff, not just a single thing. So you go through this process and say, hey, what's my desired outcome? I want to earn interest. I want to have money for my kids' education, buy a house, retirement fund, purchase, travel, all these other things. But let's, for the sake of this process here, let's pick retirement fund. Pretty common, what most people do.
Yeah, it's why most people save in the first place, right? And then again, understand that these questions and the proposed answers to them are based on real life experience of people who were successful, who have been successful in crypto over the last 5 years since Smartfi was formed and the Smartfi's met. So, the company learned kind of what people do. They look at certain things when they're reviewing tokens or potential things to buy in the crypto world. And so we wanted to know what's the most important to you. Is it, ease of use, safety, adoption, return on investment, liquidity, or something like SMT offers 100% buyback guarantee? These are kind of important for people to understand. So I would say, let's tell you what it will be for me. I mean, for me, the 100% buyback guarantee is key. I come from a trading background. I was taught to hedge. I was taught to wherever I can reduce market risk. In somebody giving me 100% buyback guarantee, basically reduce. I shouldn't legally. I probably shouldn't say this, but it basically reduces my market risk to zero, right? Because I'm going to get my money back if things don't pan out as I believe they will. So that's the most important to me. So let's stick on that one. Click on that one.
Okay.
100% buyback guarantee. Okay. So Aaron, number 4.
Yeah, and again, kind of defining these things about what is it that you want to make. Again, getting this as clear as possible. A lot of people just come with an approach and say, "Gosh, I just want to make a bunch of money." Well, okay, but that doesn't allow you to build a plan and get to a goal that is achievable and useful for whatever you're trying to do. So in this case, let's say $10,000 to $100,000. Let's define it, right? Because it is going to determine. It's not realistic to think that you can invest $10 a month and make $100,000 in 5 years or whatever. That doesn't happen, right? That's not realistic. Now, so let's do 10,000 to 100,000, but you're going to see another question later that's going to help you kind of define that process.
I will say that to me, this question is really important. Putting timeframes in place helps the most successful people to access when they need to buy or sell crypto. So what's your expected period of return? That applies not just to crypto, but to other things too. When you're planning long term to reach a goal, you have to have an idea. What does long term mean to you? What does the term that you're planning for mean to you? Is it less than 12 months? Do you just want to take a vacation and so it's in 10 months time? Is it midterm? Is it 1 to 5 years? You're a bit late getting started on your college kids education fund. Yep, you're looking at that guy right now, and so you need to kind of catch up, and you've got 1 to 5 years to get there. Is it longer term? Is it 5 to 10 years, or even more when you're looking at retirement? So again, important question. We said retirement to the first question 1, if you remember. So we're going to say long term here, 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and then just again, part of this whole thing, utilizing your cash flow when you get it, right? Successful people pay themselves first, and part of paying yourself first is actually, reinvesting in yourself, and that's what we would consider this, right? So if you get paid daily, if you get paid weekly, every 2 weeks, monthly, whatever that is, you should match your time or your frequency of what you're going to purchase in cryptocurrency to when you get your money, right? So that you have the cash flow available to you. So in this case, let's pick monthly. It's an easy one.
All right. And then again, based on real experience of real people who've been successful, you don't do that. You'll hear stories of, great speculation and people who bet everything. You don't hear the stories of the ones that do that and it doesn't work out for them. The people that have been successful most over time are people that, I don't want to use the phrase, but yeah, I mean, it says it there, stay within their means, And so you need to know how much you can afford to do comfortably that won't, massively impact your lifestyle in the short term with a view to massively impacting your lifestyle in the long term. So let's say in that case, we're reasonably kind of like affluent, reasonably well paid, and we can do $1,000 a month. So let's click on $1,000.
Well, but I think what we need to do is also we need to go back to like some of the examples we have. I would prefer maybe let's do 100, right? If
Okay,
you're new to crypto,
yeah, let's keep it. Let's keep it. Yeah.
yeah, if
Okay,
you're
it's
new to crypto,
$200 a month.
do 100, and then once you get some experience, you could bounce it back up, adjust your
Yeah,
goals, because we're going to talk about closing the feedback loop. But 100 is probably reasonable.
yeah. You'll see the last question on the thing is, would you like to speak like a registered investment advisor to help you achieve your goals?
Yeah.
Because if your goals are outside of crypto, or if what you're looking to do is outside of crypto, that might be a good idea. And so if that's for you, if you want to go down that route, we give you that option, and there is a firm that is
I,
working with us, I believe, who
I would
understand
click
what we're
no
trying to
on
do.
that
And they,
one.
sorry,
Yeah, I'll just click no on that one because again,
yeah,
there's a little bit of difference here. When you're talking about $100 a month, you don't need an registered
yeah,
investment advisor for that. If you're
yeah,
talking 10,000, 20,000, your goals are to retire with $1 million. You want to pick somebody up that's going to help you build a diversified portfolio, do all these things with $100. You don't need that right
yeah.
now.
Now, if you're doing $100 a month to try and
But,
achieve a goal, yeah, you don't need it.
yeah,
So, and then you're
but
going
it
to click
is
on next.
that will be available. So for guys that are high net worth, and want to understand this, having somebody that's qualified for crypto to build a more complicated portfolio, definitely available and helpful.
Yeah. So if we can now go to when you've done all this, you've done this, you've answered these questions. I say all this, it's not that much. You've answered these questions, these important questions. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to take your answers and we're going to use them to arrive at a plan for you that suits where you're at, and just put it in simple language.
And Paul,
And
we don't
so,
need to answer these two because these would be
no,
for somebody that has crypto,
yeah.
right? So we're not going to
So
really
we need to
answer
just
those.
flick to go to the
Yeah.
other thing, which is the end result, which is
Go to the end. Go to the
the plan that we would send
option.
you, the email that we would send you.
Yep.
And so we're going to send you an email basically, and in it will be what I think in this mock-up we say is your personalized plan for crypto, or some personalized crypto plan. There you go, your personalized plan.
There you go.
And it's based on those 3 principles of learn, plan, do. So having put in what we put in, you need to purchase $100 monthly to build your retirement fund over a period of 5 years to potentially reach your target of, and we've narrowed it down here, of 18,000 to 50,000. Let me tell you how we came up with those numbers. That's not us speculating about what might have happened. That's us basing that investment on what would actually have happened in Bitcoin over 5 years if you did it from starting 5 years ago. And those would be the kind of range where you could have sold it about 50,000. You could have done it. You could still have it, and it'll be 18.
Let's show that the DCA slide for Bitcoin. And again, this is a little dynamic because of the ability to be fungible on this right here. So this would be the DCA, or dollar cost averaging strategy, right? Which is what we recommend, right? Smooths out the highs, smooths out the lows, gives you the greatest opportunity for success over this time. Yep, that was it. Where to go? There we go.
Yeah. And so the point is here that you will hear all sorts of people tell you that the worst thing that you can do from a stock investing perspective or whatever is try and time the market. That's just as true in crypto as it is in stock investing.
Yep.
And it's not that it's impossible. Of course it's possible, but the chances of you hitting the low and hitting the high every time, but virtually zero. When I started in a Forex dealing room back all those years ago, I remember turning to my boss and saying to him, "What do I have to do to be successful?" And he said, "You have to buy at the bottom and sell at the top. Now move along." Except he didn't use the words "move along." It was a little more colourful than that, a little more dealing room language than that. But so you can imagine. But the point was, like, and it was said in a sarcastic way deliberately, because it's like, look, that's obvious, right? What he's actually saying to me is, you're not going to do that. So go and, in a later conversation, he said, go and speak to the people that have been in 5-10 years that are still here, that have been successful. Find out how they do it and learn from them. And that's what I did. And that's what we're giving you the opportunity to do here. right? You're not going to automatically buy at the bottom, sell at the top. If you dollar cost average in over a period of time, you take the emotion out of the thing, you take the randomness of volatility out of the thing, and you stick to a plan over a period of time that gives you a decent return,
Yeah,
assuming that you're right in the first place about what goes up.
yeah, and you'll see all the time, on YouTube or a bunch of other channels giving trading advice, right? And we talk about this. We'll go through some of these other things later, just a few minutes about the difference between trading and again, I wouldn't say investing because there's different things around there, but in crypto, you're basically purchasing an asset, right? You're buying this asset. It has utility for a certain function, and you'll hear this: buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. Well, who knows what the dip is?
Yeah.
The only way you know what the dip is by looking backwards, right? There's no way to know what that dip was forward. I don't have a crystal ball. The famous saying, I'm fresh out of crystal balls. Don't know. So the best strategy is we're beat this like a dead horse, dollar cost averaging, because it allows you to basically smooth it out and give you success over time, right? And so that view of dollar cost averaging, $100 a month, 5 years, gave you the result. You would basically, at this today, you would have roughly $19,000, $18,000. Early in the year, you would have had, $50,000, whatever the highs were on Bitcoin. So the real concept here is that you then still have to use some of your own common sense, right? Which is, when will I take profit, right? The difference between realized, or Martin likes to use the phrase book profit, right? It's what is on paper, but then you have to decide, okay, when do I take that? And if you're up, a lot of times we look at it from our institutional perspective and we say, take it, right? We get out. Then you can get back in and average back into the market, right? So those are the things later we'll talk to you about, but this is a simple way to do that, and it's over time, and it allows you to kind of have a simpler perspective with more safety and security around this process. You're not buying crazy highs or crazy lows. You're just averaging in.
We used to say that you can't eat book profit, and it's true. You can't, you can't use it to buy your food. So that said, sometimes you're going to kick yourself. I did it initially with Bitcoin. I got interested very early, 2014. I bought some. Everything was great, and when it got to 20K, I was like, okay, well, that's it. I'm great. And then I look back when it gets to 50K, and I say, man, I was an idiot. But it's not the point. I actually achieved the goal that I set out to achieve, right? And that's the point. When you get to that point where you're at your goal, I hate to keep flooding you with traders' sayings, but you're never wrong to take a profit, right? Because you can only be wrong if you take a loss, but you can be wrong not taking a profit, because you can get past that point where you're down the other side of the slope to where your goals aren't reached. So this is the point about having clearly defined goals. It gives you a framework to work in.
Right? Take the emotion out of it, right? Learn, plan, do. So now that you've seen the tool, you understand what that is, how simple it is. It's really simple. You've answered these 6 to 8 questions, and you've got a goal. You've got the parameters. Once you get to that goal, it's easy to say and make that decision: sell, get out, get back to safety, get back to your dollars, right, your home currency, and then start it all over again. Can we bring up the slide? And I think it warrants walking through this process again, the learn, plan, do, right? The tool, the Smart Strategy tool is going to be helpful to build that simple plan. And then we're going to go back through, and let's just emphasize some of these things again, Martin, for people who are new, maybe missed the last podcast. Let's just go through a few of these.
Because this is kind of like instrumental in how you think about these things, and thinking about it in going through the process makes you think, and that thinking is really, really important. So, first of all, when you're learning, okay, we talked about understanding the difference between trading and investing, and setting your own time horizons, to use a market phrase, your own kind of goals and all of that. That's really important. Understand the difference between, where short-term things might impact your decisions and maybe they shouldn't, because you shouldn't be worried about short-term concerns if you're buying something for the long term. And there's all sorts of advantages, all sorts of examples of that outside of crypto. I'll give you a very quick one. I started buying Tesla stock a while back. Talk about a headline-driven stock. Over the years, there's times when that plummets on this and that and the other. But if you started buying it a while back and bought it steadily over time, believe me, you've done okay. Right? So,
Yeah.
The answer is not always with things to respond to the latest headline, to the sentiment, to the drama, to the emotion. It's to stay committed. To do that, you have to understand where you're going. Right?
Yeah. I'm going to maybe just divert just a little bit, right? Because we just walked through this whole thing. Go to step 3. We've talked about step 1. We kind of walked through it all the way through, right?
Yeah.
We've gone through we did the plan part, right? Now we're at step 3, right? And this, avoiding paralysis by analysis, not knowing what to do, because it's important to, again, understand what is important to learn. I hear all the time people say, I just don't understand Bitcoin, or I don't understand Ethereum, or I don't understand SMTF, or whatever cryptocurrency, because they believe that understanding the mechanical, technical aspects of it will somehow translate into a light bulb moment that they understand now why or how it increases in value or decreases in value, or what, that they can understand the risk. That's not possible, right? There are fundamental technical analysis. There's, different structures people look at. There's trading. There's all these different things, and look at. And when you try to become a trader or try to become a technical expert, you're never going to do it, because you're going to be so far behind the curve of the people that do that for a living. It's not possible, right? Or I should say this. It's not practical, and it doesn't reach your goal. So don't focus on these things. And we'll use the example, email, right? Everybody, when you first filled out this form, there was an email. It said, hey, give me your email, right? Everybody understands email. They understand that it communicates a message. But 99.99% of the people that have email don't know how email works. And it makes no difference to them when they send a message. It effectively does what it's supposed to do. And for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Smartfi token, you basically have something that transfers value instead of data, like an email. But they're very similar. They both have addresses, and the cryptocurrency can transfer value on a network, right? And that's all it does. That's enough to understand what it's doing, right? To understand where you're going. Now you can do some more research on it, understand the protocols, understand the utility behind it. Like Smartfi has a little more substantive utility. It funds loans, which then allows you to look at it like a bank-like product. We're not a bank, but it does something more than just transfer value. It's not just a payment system. It actually funds loans. That's how we can offer the buyback guarantee, right? So the utility of a token is very important to understand, so that you can get the basis behind what it might be used for. But over time, you're going to want to find things that are safer, like has the most liquidity, or these kind of structures. So closing that feedback loop, having this measured approach, brings you all the way back to step 1, right? Which we've already gone through. So
yeah,
I don't want to bore everybody with this, because they can go back and watch some more other, these other podcasts.
Yeah, basically, you learn, you plan, you do, you learn from what you've planned and done, you learn some more, you plan again, you do again, and you keep going. And it's those steps are actually important. The point is just not to say, okay, I have $5,000. I'm going to jump in and put it in XYZ. That's not a smart approach, and it's certainly not the one that successful people have used over time.
That's right.
Anyway, we're here as a
questions, right?
Yeah. We're here doing an AMA, so let's look at some of the questions that we've been asked. We do get them. So, okay, let's start with what's up on the screen. Jacob with Discord. What are the things beginners need to know before investing in new tokens? When are they going to accept SMTF and major exchanges, and which ones are they? I'm going to do the first bit, And I think you can do the second bit, Aaron, because you're more
Sure.
familiar with the business dev side of things, right? And I'm more the practical stuff for this kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I can't tell you what everybody needs to know before they think about buying a token. What I can tell you is what I look for, right? Because it matters to me. The first thing that everybody looks for, and I'm no exception, is the potential for long-term profit, if you like, the potential for long-term appreciation. Right? I look for that. These days, the way the market is, the way it's developed in crypto, I look for some serious utility in a token. I don't want something that's dependent on the whim of Wall Street. And that's what's happening with a lot of the tokens out there now. They're essentially speculative tools. They are not necessarily, they don't necessarily have a utility that underpins them that relates to any intrinsic value. So I look for that, right? I look for some degree of liquidity. I'm not really fussed about it because I'm not going to be trading it, right? I'm going to be holding for a long time. That's been my MO in crypto since I first started 8 years ago, right? And I'm not, and other than that, what do I want? I want some degree of safety. And I put air quotes around that if you're listening on the podcast and you can't see it, because there is no such thing as a safe traded instrument, right? It doesn't exist, not safe per se, but you can increase your chances of coming out the other end with, a return, or at least not a negative return. And one of the ways you do that is, again, something like SMTF with 100% buyback guarantee that effectively reduces your downside to zero, right? Yep. That's something you should be looking for, something you should be considering. So I would definitely, those would be my criteria. The second part of the question there was, what major exchanges can we look forward to? Any news on that?
And I can go from there. So it's already on a couple of different places you could buy it. So you can buy it, obviously, on Smartfi. We have 2 different tools, and there's a very distinct reason for having 2 tools, because in the smart cycle, which gives the coin its deflationary structure, so that it helps make the coin more valuable as time goes on, right? And nobody can guarantee that that's what's going to do, but it was built to mimic like the Bitcoin halving. So there's an algorithm that's structured in that process. The more loans that are made, the more the token costs to buy it on the smart cycle. Now, the smart cycle never changes in price. When it doesn't go down, it only goes up. And there are times when it is not cheap on, or the best price on the smart cycle. In fact, there are times when it is more expensive on the smart cycle. When those times happen, you go buy it from the smart exchange, or you buy it from Probit, or you buy it from the Atomic DEX, right? And soon it'll be on PancakeSwap, right? So there's multiple places to go buy it, and there'll be more. It's listed on CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko and CoinPaprika. There's price feeds that go into there, so you can look at some more information about it on those information sites. But Probit is a Korean exchange. Atomic DEX is a decentralized exchange built by the Komodo community. Smart Exchange obviously is on our exchange, and then the Smart Cycle. And we'll probably do another podcast on Smart Cycle, because in and of itself, there's some interesting things that allow arbitrage opportunities for people who are more experienced. We'll talk about that. But for the average person, just DCA and just figure out. All you got to do is go look and say, what's the price on Smart Cycle? What's the price on these other exchanges? And figure out where's the best place to buy based on the price. So
I don't want to buy it. And in fact, if that's something that does, we get asked the how question as well. How do I buy SMTF? And to that end, actually, I've actually been working this week with Paul Lau, magnificent video person, on recording a little thing of me going in as starting from stage 1. So it actually starts looking at the Google page on my PC. We go through the process of funding a wallet at Probit and buying SMTF. So if that's something that you find a little daunting, if you think, oh, well, I'm kind of interested, but I've never bought crypto before, I don't know where to start, I don't know how to do it, that video will be up in just a few days in its finished form, and that will guide you through step by step.
Yeah, make it super simple. Yeah,
and it should be simple. It is simple, but sometimes to some people, that first step into crypto is a daunting one. So we're trying to hold your hand through it.
And I would say that Smartfi's platform is the simplest place to buy it, because
Yeah.
You just do it in one place. If you're not into crypto already, you don't have a MetaMask wallet, you don't have all these other things, just do it on Smartfi's tool. That's made simple. You can connect your bank account there. You can ACH your money in there. It sits in there. That basically when you ACH your dollars into Smartfi, it sits on another bank's FBO account, right? So FDIC insurance for that bank, not for Smartfi, but it's safe, right? It's simpler, and it's a U.S. based exchange. It's the easiest place to go to if you're brand new to crypto.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that there's other things that make it different. It is US based exchange, FinCEN registered, all of these things. A big team for a relatively young crypto platform. There's a lot to be said for it that should just logically tell you that it's a little bit safer than some things. That said, we're here to answer questions, so there's a couple of others. One is a one word answer, so I definitely want to get to that. D asks, can I make money in the first year? Yes.
Yeah.
Will you? I don't know. Can you? Yes. I mean, yes, you can, because if you're averaging in, you're and assuming there's some growth in the price of what you're buying, yes, you will make money in the first year. So reasonable assumption and reasonable outcome. So that's an easy one. Right?
Okay, let's see this one. What is this? For someone that's still new to crypto, is dollar cost averaging the best option? Small amount, my paycheck every week. Exactly. That's what we just went through. And instead of just leaving it there and saying, I'm taking a small amount of my paycheck, this tool, I think there was another question and it said, will we have access to this tool, later? Or, yes, the Smart Strategy tool will be available 10 to 15 days on the site. This is kind of the introduction to it. And so that's going to be available. So just instead of saying, hey, can I do this with my check? Yeah, you can, but let's go through the tool, plan it out, structure it, do all the things that we're talking about, learn, plan, do, execute on it, and come back to these podcasts, right? Learn what's successful, learn what we've done. Martin's traded, billions of dollars in FX. We've done over $1 billion just on the Smartfi platform and loans and transactions, made, tons of money at doing this stuff and making these tools available to the average person. So yes, come here. This is part of the tool that you need to keep learning and closing that feedback loop on your experience.
Okay, and we've got some more questions. Some of these things are kind of things that we've touched on before. So a community member question on Discord, Black Hawk is asking, good morning, I'm new to this project. I wanted to know what are the main exchanges that SMTF has and what it has in mind so that you can improve more and more.
Let's do that one that was right there that was just up. Bring that one back up about what is the main problem SMTF is solving? What's the long-term goal? There are two things with that, right? So SMTF is designed to do one, to fund loans. The issues that you have with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other platforms that have a native protocol token is they have inculcated in that process fees, right? Sometimes on the Ethereum network, the fees were so high, it made it impossible. Well, I should say this. You couldn't transfer $50 of Ethereum to somebody to pay for whatever you wanted to pay for because the fees were like, $50. It froze your assets. Basically, it was like, like a tyrannical technocrat that basically made it so expensive you couldn't use your own property. Watch out for those kind of structures on blockchains and projects, right? Because fee-based structures are the worst adoption from the banking industry that cryptocurrency adopted in its source code. That's the one thing that we saw, right? So we're solving some of those problems in our network, right? The fees. Also, getting utility outside of the network. With Bitcoin, user adoption is really based around speculative trading. It's not, nobody really uses it for a payment system. Very few people use it because they don't know how to convert dollars and Bitcoin into a stable exchange, right? So with SMTF, we structured two coins, and that'll be coming out later, as you'll see the platform and the ecosystem that we have basically structures this so that one, you can fund loans and you can have a stable platform right around not charging fees, but then having a buyback guarantee, right? That was the whole point behind SMTF is if you buy it right now, let's say you bought it at $1 and you don't like it for whatever reason and you've registered it, you qualify for the buyback guarantee, you now have safety in a single asset. You both have speculation and safety, right? And that's what Martin was talking about earlier.
Yeah, and I would say that actually that's not just some imaginary thing. That's actually happened. SMTF has been around for more than a year, and we have had people who are taking advantage of the buyback guarantee because when SMTF was first launched, it ran from 70 cents on up to $4, and some people maybe bought on that way up and didn't take the money when they got to their goals, and they're looking at it now and they're saying, "Oh, damn, I should have sold," but they can still get their money back.
Yeah.
Right, and they're doing it right now, and that's so it's not just a pipe dream; it's a reality, and that buyback guarantee is really important. Again, I want to not lose sight of any of. I think we've kind of covered a lot of the questions, and a lot of them are kind of repeating the same thing, which just bears out what I said at the beginning that this how do I make money from crypto is the number one question that we get asked. I get asked, I'm sure, when you go to parties or anything, or just out and about when you're riding your motorbike or whatever it is. And if people find out you're associated with crypto, that's what they want to know. How do I make money from it? And what we've tried to do today is tell you. We're not telling you how to do it. We're telling you what other people have done in the past to achieve that. Right? And that's a really important distinction because I can tell you what to do. I can tell you to go and buy stock XYZ at $3 and it's going to 30. And if it doesn't go to 30, then I'm either trying to defraud you or something. What I can do is say that people who started buying Tesla 10 years ago and have bought it every month for the last 10 years have done really well. And that's kind of where you're at with what we're saying to you about crypto. Yeah. It's a long-term investment, or it should be. That it's a long-term thing that can help you achieve your long-term goals. Oh, there's me writing about Tesla just this morning, about Tesla's earnings. I write for NASDAQ, in case you didn't know, not to brag.
I think that's an important part to know that NASDAQ asked Martin to write these these articles daily, right?
Yeah.
And so what you're getting is information that is time tested. It is safer. It's not investment advice per se. It's not like you're hiring Martin to build your portfolio for you, but you're asking him and me questions about this. The state of Utah asked me to be on a task force to help build. In fact, we're doing that today. So live stream that today. I guess I forgot to remind everybody about that. But the task force, we're building recommendations for the state to pass legislation on cryptocurrency laws to make it safer, make it simpler. And that all comes from our experience, from years and years of experience and lots of trades and investments and other things that we've done and loans and all these structures around what we're doing with Smartfi. They've come to us and they said, hey, we want your advice. We want your help in this. So this is what this podcast is for. It's awesome. Glad to have Martin here. It was a great addition, as the head of our research. And then there's a lot of experience here.
We love doing it. It's fun. What's the point of spending as many decades as I have in markets and learning stuff if you can't share it, right? And same with you from a business perspective, Aaron. We enjoy sharing it. Hopefully you learn from it. Hopefully you come back. And hopefully you like, subscribe, whatever, those things all help.
Smash that like button on every platform that you're on. That helps us to be able to get this message out to you, right?
It makes us preferred with the algos, and it sends things out. It sends the message out, and the more we send the message out, the better off we all are. So, thank you for being here. Please do that. I will just quickly mention we had a winner last week of $50 in SMTF, Emily Maroney. We will have another one this week. So if you submitted a question, keep an eye out, see if you won, and we will look forward. We'll do the same thing again next week, and we look forward to seeing you then. Bye.
Goodbye.